steam engine's probably the closest thing to a living piece of machinery. Steam engineers that have been lucky enough to operate more than one will tell you that, you know. Each one has its own ways, and each one fires in its own particular way. It responds to the throttle in a certain way, you know. They're very unique, and the whole system together makes it a very unique package.
The engine was retired in 1956 after serving from 1921 on the Southern Pacific between New Orleans and Houston and or San Antonio area. It was put in a park in 1956 in Audubon Park. The Audubon Park wanted to get rid of it in around '84 and was going to sell it for scrap. And a group of guys got together and saved it and did a lot of work to get it movable, and it was moved here in '84. And then in the late 90s, some work got done to get a grant to rebuild it, and probably started to work on it around somewhere in 2000, and she became operational in 2004.
I started out by seeing an ad or an article in the paper about restoring the engine, and that's when it was completely disassembled. The boiler off of it, the wheels gone, it just looked like a big holy mess. And it really was, but things were starting to come together, and I started getting involved, and pretty much every Saturday for quite a number of years I've been involved. Just really loved the opportunity to restore something, to bring it back to life, which is really a tremendous accomplishment.
I've always enjoyed things mechanical. I have a small workshop, machine shop at home that I end up using to make parts for this system. And we've made some tools where we need it, because obviously you can't go down to your local steam engine repair shop and buy the tools you need to do it, or make the parts in so many cases. So that's kind of where my interest lies, and why I stay involved with her.
Well, 745 is an oil burner. A lot of people think she was converted, but she was originally built in 21 in Algiers as an oil burner. A lot of the railroads used coal. Some of them used both. A lot depending on where the engine would be operated in as to the source of fuel for the engine. So up in the Northeast, like Pennsylvania, a lot of those were coal burners because there was plenty of coal. Down here, well, we've always had plenty of oil in Louisiana and Texas, so the majority of the engines that operated down here were oil burners.
My interest in Leicester really lies in the nostalgia of steam railroading that I remember, particularly as a child. I used to live in the industrial northeast of England, and I often used to go to sleep listening to sounds of 060s, small freight engines carrying coal trains up a steep grade, and you could hear that very clearly when the wind was right.
We always had a Christmas garden in Baltimore in the basement. We had a huge garden that was probably 10 by 20 with Lionel locomotives that were made cast iron, they weren't plastic. My dad always set it up every Christmas. I was always involved, and it was just totally enjoyable running trains, and I always kind of liked the trains. I've always had some sort of model railroad. Matter of fact, I went to an IBM school in Raleigh, North Carolina one time for a month. My roommate and I decided to build a model railroad in the motel room. Fortunately, the guy that owned the motel was really enthused, and he helped us, lend us these tools, but we were away for a month, so we needed to occupy our time, so we built a model railroad right in the motel room.
And I was a fourth-generation engineer. My dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather were all engineers. Most of my dad's family, his cousins and uncles, all were all engineers. A lot of them from up in the Pennsylvania area. So it's been in my blood for, I'll get it honestly, it's been in it all my life. Back in the day when the steam engines were operational, a lot of engineers carried their own whistle. A lot of them would have them made to their specifications to develop a certain tone by sort of like a note played on a guitar or a piano or something. To that effect, the chimes in the whistle, the number of chimes and the way it's tuned each whistle can be distinct to itself. And that way that some of the engineers' families that lived alongside the railroad would know when their husband or father was coming in and out of town, and could go out and wave at them on the side of the tracks.
There's just very few steam mechanics left around that we can count on for advice, and we do anything and everything to get this engine out and present it to the public and preserve the history of an engine that was built in 1921 in New Orleans, which is really a fantastic accomplishment. And with the limited amount of volunteers, everybody does everything to make this last to work, and it does. We have a Steam Fest every year in October. This year it's going to be bluegrass music and Steam Fest combined. Hazel and the Delta Ramblers are kind of helping us out, honchoing this thing and getting it together. So this will be our third year back to Alderman Park where the engine came from.
Made my living working with steam in my past, so this is just kind of a living steam piece of machinery, and enjoy working on it, and really love seeing her run. I use her because she is a lady, she's temperamental, she has her ways, and, but when she's out there on the rail and moving, she's a lot of fun. And a lot of work too, but a lot of fun to see that happen.
Texas plains, the big steam engine road, chugging up the main line, smoke blowing black as coal. Folks would wait till 7:45 and shoot to their town, praying to someday ride the rails when they were homeward bound. Oh, where did that engine go that she died in a public park? No friends that fired her bowl or rock, and she's rolling through the dark. She's headed back to see her pals, the brakemen in Palestine, a Balboa and Lafayette, and the ghosts along the line. At a dark and lonely crossing in the Louisiana pines, an old conductor waits alone, he's heard she's on the line. Around the distant curve she steams and calls out to her friend, I'm your Southern Pacific gal, it's good to see you again. Oh, where did that engine go? Did she die in a public park? No friends had fired her bowler up, and she's rolling through the dark. She's headed back to see her pals, the brakemen in Palestine, a Balboa and Lafayette, and the ghosts along the line. GI's home and cotton to the gin. The freight cars bulged with turpentine, corn and hogs for the pen. 745 served America well and was faithful to us all. Alive in Belgian smoke again, just listen to her whistle call. Where did that engine go? Did she die in a public park? No, her friends had fired her bowler up, and she's rolling through the dark. She's headed back to see her pals, the brakemen in Palestine, a hobo out in Lafayette and the ghosts along the line. Die in a public park. Though her friends had fired her boiler up and she's rolling through the dark. She's headed back to see her pals, a brakeman in Palestine, a hobo out in Lafayette, and the ghosts along the